come to expect from us. We got a special guest with us today. It's a young man by the name of Juan Scott. I'm going to let Juan go ahead and introduce himself.
Track star.
Yeah, track
Sergeant
star.
Slaughter of Marauders.
Of the Marauders.
Of the Marauders.
The guy for Central for State.
The year, boy can fly.
Yeah, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Like, tell us, some of the accolades that you've achieved in your success as a collegiate athlete and as, in your chosen sport.
Well, of course, my name is Juan Scott. Where do I start? Well, from high school, graduated 8-time All-American, held a national record. 6 of my 8 All-Americans came from the hurdles. Went to college, redshirt freshman. Then I went on my freshman year of running, won outdoor nationals, the first Central State since being in NCAA. My next year as a sophomore, I won indoor nationals. I had athlete of the year from HBC, out of all HBCUs. Graduated
What year was that?
2018. I was nominated my freshman year 2017, but I was one of the finalists, but I didn't win it. But the next year, I came back and won it.
Impressive.
This is the equivalent of a D1 cornerback going to Central State.
HBCU. Yeah. Like, he took a chance, y'all.
Tell
like,
him who he was beating. Who was you beating? What schools? All the ones that blew.
So, we had a couple meets throughout the season. We would go to, Ohio State. I would win those meets. From my freshman year to senior year, I never lost a meet at Old State in the hurdles. Then I will go to Penn Relays, which is the biggest meet in the world from every country. Come out one weekend. I was the only D2 athlete in the field of 8 other D1 athletes that made the finals.
Somebody should have got rolled up at every school, at every AD, at every department. What was y'all doing?
I was just one of the finalists every year in Penn Relays, only D2 athlete competing with the top D1 athletes in the world.
But this is what we need more of, though. We need the top stars to go to the HBCUs.
The HBCUs, yeah.
Because why are they benefiting? They just now starting to pay these guys. So if they let money into it, I think they should go. They stay home, get that money, and watch it go a lot further.
Right. And that's a very interesting take because it has to go to the HBCU schools as well. In regards to them actually paying the athletes what they're worth. For a long time we've seen these student athletes get dicked over. They're in games with the same stats and attributes that they have in real life. Very similar, possibly even the number. And for years they didn't get this. So this is a serious change in the guard in which we're going to see these student athletes able to take care of their parents just as much.
Get something off of what they're doing.
Yeah.
What do you think? You could have been getting paid that whole time you were running, and they did that shit 5 years too late.
Yeah, out of all the success I've had from just promotions and using my name to do anything really, I could have made a lot of money, especially with the places I was going, the competition I was running with, and the people I was beating.
Yeah.
But now, it is what it is. I just got the back end of it.
I drove all the way to Texas. I'm talking about down there in Mexico, throw a rock to Mexico. And I was 22 hours or some shit. Yeah, and I got down there, it was packed. So everybody drove to see these guys. Yeah, they could have been making money. Should have been making money.
See, just on some real time, I hear in your voice you feel like you missed a chance or something happened, bro. But you experienced the height of all heights, bro. You beat people that nobody else has beat. You've competed in places no one else would compete at, and won successfully in multiple locations. It's not like you pulled it off once and that was it. You weren't Rudy. You know what I'm saying? You did this shit regularly. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, keep that in mind. As you go through life, man, you've accomplished amazing things, bro. And hopefully, if you all go look up this young man, because it's very impressive. He came from the same place we're from, and Google the Juan Scott. Juan Scott. They're very impressive, and like I said, man, sometimes it's like that. You let the chips fall. You went all out. It's not like you did something, you screwed up. It's circumstances. Can you tell us about what occurred last year in regards to COVID and how that affected your career?
And all of a sudden, here come the pandemic.
So really, leading up to the 2020 COVID year, I had one national as a freshman. Well, I qualified indoor. I didn't make the final because I was really my biggest meet by myself. Because in high school, it was always me and the team. freshman year of college, it was just the first time I was really by myself. So I kind of, let the nerves beat me indoor. Outdoor came back, won it, broke the school record, stadium record.
Did a little something,
The next year, indoor, I came back, actually won indoors. I had a perfect season that year. I went undefeated. I didn't lose a race indoor. Outdoor, I was defending my title, and a week before nationals, I experienced my first injury in my entire career. I had been running for 6 or 7 years by that time, and that was the first injury I ever had. So I went into like a state of depression mentally, and I was just like out of it. I don't want to talk to nobody really. Then senior year, well, the following year, I got second indoor. Outdoor, I got third, and then my senior year, I kind of got back to my head right and just back to things normal. Got out of that state of depression, and then.
So what brought you out of that?
Right.
Depression?
That's what I'm like,
It
because
was
that's serious, man. A lot of young men your age ain't dealing with
like,
it.
From school, dealing with grades and all that, and then my first injury, I didn't know how to handle it because I had never been injured, and I just thought my entire career was over.
And I know, so you got your girlfriend is on this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say your girlfriend because this shit changes, who knows? But yeah, she's on the team. Did that help you or did that hurt you? Like, especially with the depression part?
At that time, nationals is always after school, so I was the only person left on the team at school, so it was really just me and my coach, but I still competed. I ended up making the finals, and then I got 6th place. But after the whole meeting, everything was over. I just was went into a depressed state, and I really didn't talk to nobody because I'm one of those people. I gotta try to handle situations on my own. I don't really ask for too much help. But once I got over it, had some talks with my coaches, athletic trainers. They got me back right. Mentally, I was back on track, and then my senior year, I was back on track. I was ranked going into nationals, top 3 in the nation, ready to come back to win my title again. And then COVID happened. We got all the way to nationals. Practice for 2 or 3 days down at nationals. They emailed our coach. They had a meeting with them 24 hours before the race day. They just said, everybody pack up and go home.
That's rough. See, I put that on my list of the COVID fucked all of my sports up for the whole year. Like the UD was about to go to the Final Four. Yeah. My son's team actually made the tournament and they trashed. And then you got shit on. I'm like, the Browns was looking good. I'm telling you, he was looking good. Oh man, but
so yeah, COVID it was one of those things. When it first happened, nobody really took it serious because we just looked at it as another virus, and government people they gonna learn how to handle it. Yeah. But that was just one of those things that happened too fast, too quick, and it just got too serious. So
because you graduated that year too, right?
So yeah, that was my senior year. I ended up graduating at the end of the year, but we actually didn't get to walk at graduation, which that sent me into I ain't gonna say a state of depression, but even to this day I kind of still.
That shit sucks.
Yeah, I still think about it because it's that was even out of all the track success I've ever had, that would have been my biggest accomplishment. Right. A lot of people don't know that, but
I mean that's impressive, bro.
I can dig that.
I can definitely understand that, bro. That was
first in my family go to college and then graduate. That was gonna be my biggest accomplishment, more than any national title or record I've ever ran or broke.
You still got the paper,
it's an accomplishment, bro. That is still your the whole thing. When we were kids, if they would have told us 10 years, 20 years from now, these kids gonna have a virtual graduation, online, where they'll just be looking at a computer screen or a similar screen and watching people graduate. We wouldn't believe that shit. You know what I'm saying? That was something this world has never dealt with. You know what I'm saying? You all that generation, the high school generation, the COVID generation, as well as the college graduating class. Mm-hmm. Y'all dealt with something that nobody on this planet has dealt with. You know what I'm saying? That was a technologically driven society and world where a worldwide global pandemic hit. That's nobody could have guessed that shit would happen, bro. And the fact that it happened, y'all were forced to deal with some
y'all
bullshit.
Really the only generation that could have dealt with it the way y'all did.
Yeah, y'all
we didn't have all that shit.
Nah.
There was no Zoom.
Niggas would just been hearing stories and reading newspaper.
Yeah.
Some of us had computers, get some Windows 95 type shit.
Playing fucking Contra.
But even
30 men.
Even then, some of the teachers is just they didn't really cooperate really with how it went. Because granted, the whole technology and all that, you know, some teachers and stuff still don't know how to work a lot of technology and stuff.
Yeah, I don't like all that.
They're older than us. Of course they can't. What the fuck?
So really, it was some teachers that wasn't cooperative as far as posting stuff online and things like that. So
I don't download apps because they always want you to do stuff. Like,
the whole online thing, it kind of just made it harder in a sense. Because me personally, I prefer the classroom. I don't really, and even though I like technology and I'm advanced with it, I prefer the in-person classroom, hands-on type thing. I ain't really digging the whole on computer behind the scenes because there's so much you can miss by not being in person and a lot less you can learn by not being in person.
Well,
I agree.
We're all different learners.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned as an educator, differentiated learning, differential learning, what have you. Like, everybody learns differently, you know, and you can't set a random classroom of 30 fucking kids, which a lot of school districts do, in one classroom with one teacher and expect them to all learn to that teacher's teaching style. Like, no one can do that. And like, this actually proved that entire theory, but I don't think the American education system really caught on. Like, you need to, like, they used to call it like placing and grouping, where they would put kids, okay, these are the low functioning kids, and these are the middle functioning kids, these are the high functioning kids. But if you took these kids, learn by watching something be done. These kids learn by, you set the tools in front of them and give them the directions they can do it. These kids learn in a fucking group setting. You set kids in that type of learning path, and the educational system will you know, improve upon itself. But like you said, like, they weren't prepared for this, and they don't understand that. Like,
all that sounded good, but the execution was after them kids. Trust me, because I got a couple of them, and oh man, just left them out there on an island. Like, man, you know, hey, man, it's gonna be rough. See you on the other side.
That's the education system. I mean, that's the American education system failing these kids, and they were all the teachers were expected to just be able to go to one place and upload everything from one place, and kids are expected to get online at one place and talk. I mean, it was a very confusing time. Like, I'm one of these people who I have to sit there and make sure my daughter gets online every day. You know what I'm saying? And if I could do that and get her into class, she's cool. You know what I'm saying? But it's a different struggle for every parent because it's a different learning style for every child. And a lot of these kids are people in general. You're a grown adult who realizes, hey, I can't learn by just watching a screen. I need to be there to ask questions live and direct. I need to go up to the board and ask a question, draw the shit right there. That's a learning style, and that needs to be addressed. You know, and that was something that you all had to suffer through. And
some of it really just came from like the way the teachers went about the situation. Like, some teachers never held meetings. They just posted the work online and said, this is what you got to do. You got to read this and answer questions, not really explain nothing to us.
Did some of your coaches get laid off because of the COVID, or was it?
Well, that situation, the schools in general, and like the whole like laws or whatever at that time, they sent everybody home. People, the regular jobs got sent home. At the school and institution, everybody got sent home. Students, teachers, everybody. So at that time,
the place was collecting dust.
So yeah, they sent us all home because that was the Olympic year. So even then, me and my coach was still like, if we can still do anything, if they're having anything, we gonna still go through with it.
Right.
They sent everybody home. They canceled all sports around the world, and then that whole summer, well, not summer, but from spring to summer, people just trying to find, what was the word for it? Essential working jobs.
Yeah.
I had started working at Amazon.
Amazon was essential like a motherfucker. That was crazy.
Jeff Bezos, shout out. They hate him, but hey, essentially,
we got to get our stuff.
Yeah, right. My coach was working just a job here and there just to keep money coming in because, you know, bills and stuff, life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But then coming back, once COVID kind of came to a point where they know how to control it and still manage life with COVID, came back, they fired our coach. I was going to actually end up going back to school because I still have eligibility, but without my coach being essential, I just said I'm just going to sit this one out because I can't really go back to the school and run for a new coach.
Right.
I've been with the same coach for 4 years.
Yeah, you got no trust built up with that new guy or nothing.
And then even then, it's the
like,
whole situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I got loyalty to this guy over here. Yeah.
So I just sat that one out. So yeah, they actually did send us home, students, coaches, everybody.
Yeah, that's pandemic. Sports were seriously affected. The youth, the young people of your generation. Like, this was like an Olympic game has never really been delayed. I don't think, did they even delay it during the terrorist act? They kept it going when the terrorists were going, weren't they? Or maybe they stopped it for that little, but that would have been the only time the Olympics have ever been delayed.
You talking about Atlanta?
No.
No,
The bomb, no, they were going. They were already going. No, this was like 81, 84 when they took those people hostage.
I'm not as old as that guy.
Yes, he is.
81.
Yes, he is. No, 81, 84. I want to say it was.
My diaper changed.
I forget where it was. Not Iran or Iraq. It was somewhere. But yeah, they took a bunch of people hostage. That's the only time like Olympic Games have been delayed. You know that a lot of athletes, and that's why I want to get into these sports, these professional sports. A lot of athletes don't have that outlet to just compete regularly professionally.
Yeah.
You know, track being one of them. You know, for a long time, wrestling was another one. You know, luckily a lot of those guys can transition to MMA now. You know, there still needs to be some sort of outlet for track and
Did
field.
you see my girl? She turned her back on the flag. While they
The
played
shot
the
put girl?
anthem. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
her. Yeah, I downloaded a picture of her. She got the fist up. Send it to my daughter. She's gonna make me sure I wear it on the next one. Don't worry about it. Black Girl Magic shirt.
There's a lot of black girl magic that I've addressed on the Blerd Assassin
Who's your
kind of
favorite
thoughts.
girl runner? I know Usain Bolt is your favorite.
Well, yeah,
runner.
Usain
Yeah.
Bolt would be like my favorite sprinter,
Yeah.
but like female, it's hard to say because when I first started running, it was Sonya Richards-Ross, Allison Felix, and even then, Allison Felix the most decorated
Allison Felix,
female athlete
she made
in
a
the
made a
Olympics.
comeback.
So I would have to go with Allison Felix.
Yeah.
But then, now it's still a couple new ones, well, not new ones, but I'm like broadening my horizons, like Shelly Ann Fraser, sprinter from Jamaica, and then a couple hurlers.
I like the Jamaican girls sprinters. I'm a big fan of
There you
all
go.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them girls.
So, and then there's a couple hurlers that I've
Different
watched
reasons. That was
throughout
some
the
person.
years. So
I admire their skill and the craft that they've chosen.
Okay. Hey, my guy finally just admitted
Yeah.
he likes or appreciates women athletes. This is the first on the Blerd Assassin.
I'm turning the corner. Turning the corner. 'Cause,
My guy! Hey.
Girl softball was just on, and it's much better than dudes baseball. I was watching that shit and they throw that money, wind that thing up.
That's
and,
amazing, right?
Yeah, and that black chick, she was pitching. They hit it to her. She
remember
ran
the
and got
team?
it, jumped, and it was called like James Madison or something like that. Like, they was underdog. They didn't win shit.
We're gonna look her up.
But yeah, it was a good play.
We're gonna
It
put
made
a
a
picture
spin
right
course in
here.
the top 5 plays. Yeah, I was impressed. Yeah, so and plus I like Sinead Abumake. That girl fine. That girl fine. I like her. She on everything. She on the Space Jam. I'm gonna overlook that.
What's she? Who?
She played for the Sparks. Oh, yeah.
What's her name?
Sinead Abumake.
Where's she
Her
from?
and her sister. They're from Nigeria. Back-to-back #1 draft picks. They went to Stanford in college. Yeah, the
Okay.
girl's like 6'9". Yeah.
Can they dunk?
Probably not. I hope not. That'll ruin it a little bit.
That's gonna ruin it?
Yeah, she might dunk on me. If we was like play 21 or something, like now we can't be together. Fucking dunked on me in 21? Nah. Hell nah.
They better be able to dunk. They should dunk.
They're unstoppable though. The girls can play. And she was on fucking some radio show I listen to. But I ain't gonna plug on our show.
Nah, please.
But she got one.
Well, shout out to
She's
the
everywhere.
Abumake girls.
Yeah, everywhere. Nigerian girl. I like.
Speaking of women athletes, like, what are your thoughts on Sha'Carri Richardson?
Sha'Carri.
The young lady who basically
her
broke
like
it.
Blanca, she like on Street Fighter. Like she like just start doing electricity on them.
my whole thought on it is like
If you get that joke, you old as fuck. Go ahead. Go ahead.
my whole thought on it is just like her coming from NCAA to becoming a pro. NCAA rules are more strict than the pros. It's just like the drug test and stuff that we have is just like outrageous. They drug test you on the spot. Anything in your body, you can almost.
If you could smoke weed
Question.
and still outrun some motherfuckers in a sprint,
You're a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, that's not.
I don't
that's not
think
helping
weed hinders
trust
you.
me.
Really,
Yeah.
it just you adjust for it. Personally, that's another show. Here's my question. So who were you tested by? Was it the NCAA?
NCAA.
Okay.
Like during NCAA, like the first year I won nationals, I of course crossed the finish line. Got on the podium. As soon as I got off the podium, NCAA like officials and meet directors, all those people, they come up to me and was like, "You got to get drug tested now." Like I'm still in the uniform, running spikes, everything. Like I didn't put on anything.
That's like a compliment. Like, man, ain't no way.
I walk right from the podium and straight to like
You running
the
too
waiting
fast.
area where they have the drug testing at. And of course they got food and stuff in there for you, but they got this thing where like once you in there, you cannot leave until you pee in the cup.
Oh, we good. I'm gonna sit back and lounge. Like, bro.
They will stay there all night because I remember
We got the same thing, but I'm on the clock, so it's gonna cost y'all.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
sit here for 2-3
hey,
hours.
I would definitely sit like, hey, you ain't gonna make no pee when I'm ready.
Plus, I need to warm my shit up. It's down there, so it's gonna take me a couple hours.
So yeah, they got food and drinks.
I just ran. I'm dehydrated, nigga. The fuck, I can't pee right now.
So yeah, they got food and drinks for you to just help you pee.
Yeah.
And then, but it was one guy. He got drug tested. He was the only person left in the stadium. Everybody was done running. They closed the lights and everything. He couldn't leave till you pee. But for me, I was in there for 2 or 3 hours because for one, I was like my first time doing that type of drug test, and it was just like uncomfortable experience.
Of course. Do they stand behind you?
Nah, like so they walk you in the bathroom and they be like, all right,
Cock watcher.
you gotta
Tell me no.
you gotta. They give you the cup. They tell you gotta fill it up to the line or whatever. So first they tell you gotta take your shirt off, and then you gotta put your pants on your ankles, and they stand in front of you and watch you pee to make sure your pee is the pee that go in the cup.
The cock watcher.
Yeah. So it made me uncomfortable.
I'm like, man, so you
like,
getting paid for this, bro?
He had a mustache. He was doing like this. Somebody was fucking like.
So when I first walked in there, I was like, I'm ready to pee. I can go. But once they told me the rule, I was like, I can't do it. This is like uncomfortable.
Like, who's gonna be cool? Somebody just, hey, go ahead and pee.
Hey, while you're here squatting cough.
Like,
It's like prison.
So I was in there for 2 hours just sitting in there.
like, yeah, bro, you're gonna have to wait till I really gotta go, bro.
That's
How
what
can I not look at you just looking
He
like,
said, I got all day. He's on the clock.
So
The
yeah,
cock watcher.
Christ.
Hey, I bet his dad's real proud. Like, you know what my son does?
bro? What's the purpose of the ankles, though? The pants to the ankles?
because you know,
he
like,
likes that
nah,
part.
you know, people can,
That's his thing.
Hey, bro,
people
it's
like-
like you said, take your shirt off and drop your
Not
pants.
to your fucking knees, to your ankles.
because you know, some people can have like the fake pee on them and they can hide it. So
Yeah.
by them telling
That's
you
Okay,
that your
you
ankle
can't
broke,
drop pants. Hey, once it's past mid thigh, you see any fucking wire coming up. Shirt off, they ain't seeing nothing. Like,
No.
to the
If
ankles?
there's a cock watcher, I'm going to seek employment elsewhere. I'm out of here, guys.
I mean, but-
I'm telling everybody in line on the way out, hey, cock watcher.
hey, he gonna watch you, bro.
Yeah. Hey, he's in there,
no pee,
rubbing his hands
and
together
almost
like
forfeit
this.
your win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's
That's
some fucked up
different,
shit,
yeah.
man.
So I just had to do it. But
Damn.
the only thing came back, I was just dehydrated because it was down in Florida. It was just so hot that
When you finish, you should have did the beat it up right there. There you go. There's your sample. Who the fuck is it? We got some company. Hope they don't come in because last time I was unprepared. It won't happen again. Who that?
Oh, that's
What's good?
What's up, bro? What's up, bro?
I was walking by and I said, man, I know Buddy Shop still ain't open.
Yeah,
I
man.
was right by
Still
this.
open, man.
Everything was cool. You
Oh, yeah?
locked the door?
Nah, ain't no locking the door, bro. We good. That's the homie from around, bro.
Right.
So Al, bro.
Something, man.
Just have a seat, man. We finishing up a little show. Yeah, you good right there.
Oh, my bad.
No, you good. You good.
Yeah, I was just making sure the spot was straight. I was
Yeah,
like, yo,
yeah.
why
Yeah, usually the lights ain't even on and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, that's some crazy shit. But yeah, in regards to Sha'Carri Richardson and the drug testing and piss testing, with her, do you think that marijuana should be viewed equally as the typical performance-enhancing drug when it comes to track and field? Because that's what it comes down to. Like, it's kind of been ruled out in regards to MMA. I believe as time
It's not
goes on,
like
it's
when
going to be
Aaron
ruled
Pryor
out.
was getting tooted up and coming out busting their ass. You know, like that's different.
I
You
think
know,
it really
that was
come
enhancing.
from like based on the sport, because of course like basketball and football, their rules are different from track and field and like you said MMA. So I think it comes down to like our sport uses more physical, or not even physical body, like it's just more. We use our bodies more than like a football or basketball player would, because our sport is literally your entire body. And then so really, I don't think they drug test for it as far as performance enhancing. I think they just don't want it in your body. But my whole thing is like I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So to be at that level as a pro athlete, I know I wouldn't jeopardize anything for me and my family as far as those circumstances and situations. But then again, she lost her mom. Can't nobody really tell you how to cope with losing your mom, and she's younger than me. She's only like, what, 20 or 21. I don't think she even finished college yet. She went pro right after her freshman year. So she's either a junior or senior in college. And even then, she had an interview the next morning. They talked to her about it. She said she knew it was wrong before she did it. She just did it anyway. So she owned up to it. It's just one of those things.
I was worried about it, I wouldn't have did it.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna smoke y'all when I get back on that. She come back in 30 days.
It
right?
does not affect, like, for them to prove it affects you, like, competition-wise, they have to go, just do a lot of psychological tests on track stars and track runners, and like, okay, it gives these people this mental edge. That would be something different, like, because these motherfuckers don't give a fuck at that point when they smoke.
You know what I'm saying? Whoop somebody ass and then smoke a square right after in the ring. I used to love that shit. like, I'm better than y'all, man. Don't worry about what I do.
But my thing is, what if you did a shot the night before?
Shot.
They wouldn't have gave a shot, like took a shot of
It
whiskey.
depends.
Nobody wouldn't have gave a shit.
Sometimes they do drug test for it.
For alcohol?
Yeah. Well, I know NCAA, they really, those rules and regulations are different.
Some
But
fucking
as
party
a
poopers,
pro,
man.
as a pro, that's why you hear like LeBron, he talk about he'll go home and sip some wine. But like any
Oh, no, wait a minute.
hard liquor.
LeBron is on roids. He's on performance enhancer, so we're not going to try to act like he's,
But like him and some other athletes, you hear him say that they drink wine because it's different from like hard liquor or beer. So I think it's really just
Kind of girly to
the
me.
route you go about it basically.
It all
Like
tastes
it's
like
always
Wild
a
Irish
loophole
Rose
in
to
something
me.
in life. So you can't really have any liquor in your body, but I don't think wine would have the effect like hard liquor or beer.
Okay. Do you think if she had liquor in her system, they would have popped her and suspended her for 30 days?
I'm not even sure. My whole
It would
thing-
have to be those, because you're saying there's different rules and regulations. It would have to been in the contractual agreement that she signed at the trials.
So my thing about it is really, I think it blew up as much as it did is because she's like the most looked at female
right now,
athlete in the world.
She broke
So
the internet that day.
anything she does, small or big, the entire world is gonna look at her. That's why I really feel the whole situation went the way it did.
I wonder what strand that shit was.
Me too.
Name it that motherfucking.
That's your card.
That's your card.
That's your card.
But then you got like a lot of people who aren't athletes and what their thoughts are, how she was in a state where weed is legal, but that really doesn't mean anything because at the end of the day, she's a pro athlete. She knows what her rules are and what they aren't. So it doesn't matter really what state you live in. That doesn't defeat what the rule is.
Even in my
That's
job.
that's factual. As an athlete, I can respect that, bro, because like the higher up you go in that particular field, the more strenuous the rules are. And to have to adhere to those strict rules, that's discipline. It's discipline. Like no matter what we say, like I think it's cool she's only suspended for 30 days because she can still compete in certain events.
For
some goddamn weed. You know what I'm saying? I mean that's not too bad. She can still practice and bust ass and shit. But as far as I know, but I believe like within a certain number of years, very soon, a lot of professional sports organizations and sports councils will look at weed the same way they look at alcohol. If it's legalized, it's not a performance-enhancing drug. But until then, like I said, props to you because those strenuous rules that they have to adhere to is discipline in that particular sport, and that's what makes them better than us. Shit, like it's a reason why this guy was supposed to compete.
Ricky Williams said, "Fuck that, I'm smoking."
Yeah, Ricky Williams. I mean, and that's the thing. That's an exception. There are exceptions to the rules. It's not a normalcy
as long as you
yet.
retire and become a weed baron, then it doesn't matter. He doing his thing. Him and Mike, Iron Mike, make like
Iron Mike,
$500,000 a day or some shit like that off weed.
Good for him. Good for him. I think all athletes should be able to. And eventually you'll see a lot more athletes becoming advocates of marijuana. But until then, you have to adhere to the rules set before you as a competitor.
Management than that needle they give them, and the perks, the bikes, and all that shit.
All day.
Management than that. So
all day. Like those pills will kill you.
We gotta figure out a way to make sure they get the biggest cut of it, and then it'll be legal.
I just feel like it was one of those situations that happened at the wrong time.
Yeah, very wrong time. Very wrong.
Like this happened earlier in the year before like the trials and her winning.
Hey, is that recording, bro? Because my man is known for it.
It's recording. I just think that, if I can, I want to be
what?
But you want to line this middle part up with him.
No. I can fix that in the editing.
Okay.
All that shit gonna be straight. Like the center. Now what I use is the center line of him.
Yeah.
That's look like, man. It's always crooked, bro. Just like this. No matter where I put it, it's gonna be fucking crooked.
All right, my man. It'll be out too. I would have been like,
no, we gonna leave that in there.
None of that shit gets said.
It'll be straight through, bro. But shit. Like, in regards to competition, adhere to the rules. Like, I wish that young lady the best. I want to see her smoke whoever the fuck she running against. I hope she get, you know, all the accolades due, you know, in those relay races that she's, you know, able to compete in. I hope it's. What is she running? What is she running?
They just released the roster today. She's not running at all.
At all?
Yeah, Team USA didn't put on the roster for anything, so she's not running the relay or her opening. Because the thing about drug testing, well, for pro, even in college, like in pro, you have a set schedule that you have to adhere to for the whole year, so you know when your drug tests are, what dates, what time. They even come to practice, like draw blood, pee, they do everything.
Yeah.
So they can trace back up to days, weeks, and months. NCAA is just one of those. You get 24 hours in advance, and once you find out, you have to show up. Otherwise, you can almost forfeit your eligibility for the rest of your career.
Why she can't run though? Why aren't they?
Well, because the drug test and stuff came out a week or less than a week after her trial. So anything prior to her drug test, a certain amount of days, basically it's like it didn't exist. You get forfeited. So anything prior to the drug, that's why they say she can't run the 100, because what she did at trials technically doesn't count anymore because it happened within that time frame of the drug test.
See, I think if there was more money involved, they would find a way around rules like that.
Yeah.
Just like they do in the NBA and the NFL, you know, like.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a sport. Like track and field isn't one of those sports that is people really only care about track and field Olympic year. You don't never really hear people talking about track
nowadays
and field all the time unless it's a world record. But if it's not Olympic year, it's just one of those
Gotta
sports.
be somebody special.
That's nowadays though. Like back in the day, like
shit.
what was it? The Atlanta games.
I drove to Texas. Fuck. I ain't never again.
Nah, like it used to be bigger when we was growing up, man. Like it seemed like Carl Lewis and all them niggas running like all the goddamn time, bro. Like when we was kids, man. Like track and field was bigger. American gymnastics was bigger. You know, these are two sports that have, you know, basically fallen victim to the limited options for professional athletes in those particular sports, in my opinion. Like, you give them an outlet, you give them I don't know, like some sort of organization where they can compete professionally and tour. And why can't they? Why can't, you know, athletes like in those sports have their own fucking stadium? You know, like you know, track running stadium. You know what I'm saying? Like where they compete there against other teams from other fucking cities and other states. You know, that it's just not. These aren't sports that we've really gotten behind in nationally.
You ever been to a track meet? That motherfucker long, bro.
No shit, you ain't gotta stay for the whole time.
In the heat, like, hold on.
I prefer indoor. I remember central track teams, but yeah, fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, limit it to 15 players.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? 15 players, different races.
How are you running, man?
Man, you can make that. You can make that a global phenomenon, man. You could definitely. You can make track a global phenomenon, man. Limit it to like 10 different races. 10 different races. They back to back after commercial breaks. You know what I'm saying, bro? That can be a whole fucking episode. Right?
I think some of it comes from like how big basketball and football blew up after like Carl Lewis and all those guys. Mm-hmm. So it really kind of put track on the back end. That's even like at schools. You look at some of these colleges, they care more about basketball and football more than they do track.
Yeah, football is king.
And then some schools you got where they just a track school, they care more about track than any other thing. But it's really just, I feel like track and field is one of those sports that got put on the back end of basketball and football.
They don't have anything
nationally,
that's
this country. That's how we treat our track and field athletes.
This country, other countries.
What you're a superstar for the rest of your life.
Yeah, track is what football and basketball is.
Yeah, it's bigger, and those athletes are celebrated more in those countries. You know what I'm saying? Like Ethiopia, like the Ethiopian gold medal winners, they're superstars for the remainder of their lives. You know what I'm saying? They're celebrated for the remainder of their lives, like, because, you know, it's a sense of national pride. You know what I'm saying? We don't treat our athletes over here in America like that. You know what I'm saying?
Some of that is because they limited too. Like some of those other countries, they only have track and
That's
field,
particular
or
sport,
soccer.
Yeah.
They don't have basketball,
outlets and
football,
boxing, wrestling, all that
They
shit.
don't
Yeah.
have none of that.
Yeah.
So they really got 2 or 3 sports. So if you can make it
It's
in
like
one of
living in
those,
Alabama or some shit. Like all we have is this one thing.
so yeah, that's really why track and field only gets blown up really Olympic year. After Olympic year, you really don't hear too much about track and field unless somebody break a record. Of course, somebody will talk about it, but if it's not Olympic year, you just go right back under people's radar. Really,
it's got to be something with the broadcasting networks or something. Man. You remember like
Well,
the ABC Worldwide of Sports, like that shit every Saturday. It was showing track and field and boxing like all the goddamn time.
so yeah, that's another thing too. With track and field, you can't even like watch it on TV. Really, you have to pay for online subscriptions. It's not really a channel for track and field. Like you can turn on TV, look at any sport but track really. But yeah, track and field, you gotta pay for like Flow Track, Runner Plus. You have to pay for those subscriptions only online.
Sound like jujitsu.
Like you don't even watch it on the computer really. If you see it on TV, it'd be like Olympic trials or a big meet that they, of course, don't put on TV to get the money. But other than that, you gotta just be subscribed to the track and field channels and all that.
Well, where can they see you at, man? Where you got some highlights? Where you at social media wise? Like
So social media, I'm on Instagram and Twitter mainly. Of course, I got Facebook, but that's really for family. But you can look me up on Google. I got races on YouTube from high school, college, really. A lot of websites, I wouldn't even know where to find some stuff, but some stuff was on the news as far as interviews.
Just look him up.
We gonna flash a bunch of that
Juan
shit.
Scott, like look him up,
I got
like
pictures and shit.
yeah, this is one of the athletes that I don't want to say fell victim, but had to overcome the COVID season. One of these young athletes who had to seriously overcome it, y'all. So go look, do a search for him, look him up, support him wherever you see him, man, because like this is one of America's greats right here.
We got some Central State stories, some bloopers. I'm like the oldest marauder here. I was the original from '99.
I told you he older than me.
'99.
He old as shit.
He's 2 years old.
I mean, really, my years at Central was more so like, I'm one of those athletes where I'm so focused on one thing that my whole collegiate career was just dedicated to track and field. Wake up Monday, go to class, I go to breakfast 8 in the morning and go to class, practice at 3 o'clock, study tables, then I'm in bed. I practice 6 a.m. the next day. Practice the next morning, go to breakfast, have second practice, class for the rest of the day, then I just be in the room. I was never really like one of those college athletes like out partying or doing other stuff. So you can ask anybody that know me from college. I never left the room. People see me leave the room, it was to go to class, cafeteria, or practice. I was really just one of those laid back type of people. Some of that really comes from me being the only child at home, so I'm just used to keeping my own company and I can just stay in the room and be relaxed. I'll never really, only stories I can got is like some track and field stories, like being on spring break with the team just acting so cool.
That's what it's about.
I remember when a couple guys showed up like that. Like, remember Ryan? Ryan, shout out to Ryan. He ended up being a rapper and everything else.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a Bitcoin fucking miner.
Yeah, I mean, he had never smoked a black. Some reporter. I was the only guy on campus with weed. I was the man. I was the man. Some reporter. And I changed his life. Yeah, he's like, "What you mean you freaking it?" I was like, "Man, let me show you something." Changed his life. Yeah,
that's the whole way.
Yeah, I like Ryan a lot. Yeah, he good dude. I'm glad he beat that bullshit. I started him on.
I got a Central State track story. So I ain't run track, but I know that every year the Central State track team was stuck on campus during winter break. So if you knew a girl who ran track and she was sick, she gave you a call. It's because she was lonely and she could make it there to her dorm room. She was there.
I knew this was gonna somehow be how he's a player, bro. Go ahead. Let me hear me.
That's it. The Central State track girls team was on campus during winter break. When they got along,
I knew it was going to that.
I got one for every fucking minute.
A disclaimer: these two actually graduated. I just went. I was hanging out. I was there for a little bit. I graduated from electrician. Years later, after I wasted all that time in college and all that money.
So
you were there for 1 year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fucking time.
Central State seemed like a long time.
I was there 5 years.
5 years.
I was a double major guy. I was a double major guy.
I was going to say, you said the 5-year plan.
5-year plan.
I was done in 4, but since I had a year of eligibility, I stretched it to 5.
Yeah, if you're running, you're supposed to.
But then COVID happened, so it made that 5th year seem like it was just, wow, I did this extra.
They wrote a poem about me in my one little year there, though. Who the fuck is Earl?
Who the fuck is
Earl?
Earl?
From that area, you heard that poem. That's me. I'm Earl.
Who the fuck is Earl? Now y'all know. The secret's out there.
Yeah.
Earl is discovered.
I is Earl. Earl is me. Yeah.
Classic. That was,
I spread myself around.
A lot of people don't know about that story. That's
so yeah, my time at Central was really just me and my coach. I was one of the only athletes really on the team that was just like bought into the program. It was just everywhere at all the big meets. Of course, you had the meets where you took the team, but then when it came to like certain meets for nationals and things like that, it was just me and my coach. I was never really just like a whole team, so I could have people to vibe with and just do whatever it is. It was just me and coach. So we just
Track kind of a solitary sport, though. I mean,
very solitary, bro. It's single-minded.
Nah, the gun go off, it's just you.
That's solo
track and
performance.
field work. It's like at like a regular track meet. You have individual races that are counted towards team points.
Right.
So a first place would be 10 points, second is 8, third is 6. Then after that it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down to 8.
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that shit either.
That was a little over my
Did
head.
you know that
Nah.
shit? Jesus.
I still not sure what you just said. Like,
I am, and it makes perfect fucking sense.
So then at the end of the meet, when you see like, oh, this team won the track meet, is because every person that ran under that team name, they add all the points up, and it comes down to one team victory. But really, it's all individual races except for relays when it's just you and 3 other people. But at the end, it's all your points added up. But even then, cross country is different from track because they add their scores up like golf. The lowest points win. So if you get first place, that's what, like 1 point. The higher you place, the more points you get.
It's just like golf.
Yeah, it's just like golf.
Sucks.
So whatever team with the lowest in cross country wins, but in track and field is the highest team, of course, wins. So you run for yourself, but you run for your team also. But I like track because it's really one of those sports you don't really got to depend on nobody else. Because when you win that race, it's just you can't really blame nobody else for
Nobody
anything
else.
that happened.
That's the beauty of solo sports, man. Like track, boxing, tennis, wrestling, things like that, where you don't have to depend on a team, or you don't have nobody to blame and nobody else to celebrate but yourself in a win and a victory. It's you. It's you and your coach. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the beauty of solo sports. I'm a fan of them. Like team sports, they cool, but there's always that little factor, somebody else fucking up and causing you a championship. Like I don't want to be mad at somebody for the rest of my life because they lost me the fucking game. Like that was never my
That's when
thing.
you gotta start remembering those little cliches, like it's a team sport.
That's that bullshit. That's that
It was
bullshit.
48 minutes of basketball, not that one play or something. You gotta,
So that was like my biggest thing in college. That my coach had to like drill in my head because I'm the individual person. I can really care less for teams. At the end of the day, it come down to it. I'm not gonna have a team running my race. It's gonna come down to me.
It's a Bengals fan for you, right?
You wanted to pat niggas on the back more and tell them let's go, like be out there cheering for
my
them.
coach had to like get me to get into the team. After like high school, I was all about team and family because it was always us. It was always
Right.
Once I got to college, I realized how it became more of a solo job than anything.
Assassin. That's that Jordan shit, hey, bro.
Yeah, it can only be one at the top.
What
man.
the fuck? Yeah. What the fuck?
So,
Can
yeah,
only
you
be
It's only gonna
one,
be
bro.
one athlete of the year, man.
Bro,
You
what
can't
the
take
fuck?
it with you.
A lot of people on my team would tell you like they could almost compare me to Jordan because I'm one of the people like
I like that.
I'm a quiet dude, but when it came down to like my sport, I did it with so much passion and love. Like I would be cussing people out, yelling at people that just couldn't get it right. Because I'm like, it's not that hard. You
That's
signed
mama
up.
mentality, man. You're too young to be.
You signed up to do this, so that
Mama
means just
mentality.
go all in. Ain't no
Yeah.
point in doing something just to do it halfway. And even then, track and field hurt too much to just go halfway. You might as well be in or out.
I ain't got time for y'all bullshit. We're getting first place or nothing.
So
I like that.
At the end of the
I like
day, it
that.
was like I'm gonna win with or without y'all. So y'all can either be there with me or y'all can be there watching me. It don't matter to me. But I had to. My
That's the
coach
quote
had
of the
to,
whole
like,
show right there. I like that.
My coach had to drill that in my head how I have to adhere to be a team person. Even then, it's still hard for me because I was always used to just being me.
Did you want to do like the race with the glasses on and shit?
Nah, I
Yeah.
was-
like nobody's like the
Like
killer.
in my hurdle race, you would see me just a plain dude. I just have a uniform top, shorts, and spikes. Of course, I had no sock. The most I had was earrings and a necklace.
Of course, he knows soccer.
My necklace came from my mom and dad, so that was just one of those things I really never took off. But other than that, I was never really like sleeves and headbands and glasses.
That extra
type of
shit.
dude. That was just,
That's what's up.
I'm gonna just go out there
You
and do
smoked
what I
all the
do.
niggas running at all that shit, huh?
Yeah, I didn't really-
They look good losing.
I mean, granted, I had some races I would wear that stuff for like a relay. We look uniform. We all would wear it just for something nice. But my own races, I'm plain Jane, just
That's what's
uniform
up, bro.
spikes.
Like the tarantula, but with a lineup, though. He's got a brush. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I take care of my hair.
Man, we done crack on Durant more than anybody.
Like Durant is
This
I
fucking
mean, he
show.
keeps fucking putting material out there. Like,
I just don't see how you make that much money and don't take care of your hair, man. It's just
He never has,
watch
bro.
this though. Watch this.
I
Watch
mean,
this.
granted, he is a good player,
yeah.
but you need to brush, comb it or
He's
something.
soft and baby shit.
can't
In the
just
NBA,
get
you
a
should have
haircut.
bitches just brushing your hair constantly after you dig them down. Like that's what
Can't
I
get a
see.
haircut
Pro
and
life.
just wake up and not do nothing.
They really should just go
Unless
bald.
you're Durant.
I mean, by him not doing nothing, it is making him go bald.
Yeah, take care of this shit. Enough of we're gonna end on a Durant note. Check out the homie. Like and subscribe to the channel and any all future videos. And yeah, we'll check you on next time.
See y'all in like 4 months.
Like I'm a roller skate with dudes who work Section 8s, while y'all love me just work the block off a minimum wage. But if you was smart, you knock off your boss and get you a raise. So fire away, here come the heavyweights with the Mo-Dog stats batch, but I ain't Lorenz Tate. In fact, I'm a wolf that run with the pack up in the middle